what should Christians do during Pride Month, and what should Christians not do during Pride Month?
Well, I have a pet peeve about, making an equivalence on the Christian side in June in opposition to Pride. We're going to have the Humility Month or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
Awesome. Cancel our Humility Month campaign.
I understand the sentiment of reacting or taking advantage maybe of the opportunity to celebrate a Christian virtue that maybe is in opposition to, Pride culture is explicit. I think Christians whitewash Pride culture. LGBT culture is very graphic. There are aspects of sexual fetishism that Christians, I think, can't even imagine that are mainstream in some parts of LGBT culture. And so I think Christians tend to whitewash Pride and be ideal not to do that because what the Pride community has done is taken the shame of their sexual experience and then blown it out in a transgressive way so as to not have shame about it any longer. So the more extreme you can be, the better, because you're basically throwing it in the face of someone who might be accusational. So,
Right.
On the opposite side of Pride, we want to say is humility, but it's also very deep shame. And Pride is a response to shame within that culture. And so it's a self-protective mechanism against the depth of that kind of public humiliation that many have felt. But so then trying to create a Christian parallel of the Pride Month, I'm not a big fan of that. I do like to pay attention to what, say in Target, what products are they going to feature? Is it just a queer shirt, a shirt with the word queer on it and a rainbow? I think I can cope with that.
Right.
But if I've got Baphomet and I've got other satanic elements, I really don't like that. I also don't really want to have to encourage girls to wear boys' clothes or boys to wear girls' clothes. I do actually want Target to celebrate girls as girls and boys as boys in some of those areas. So I'm always mindful of how I spend my money and where I spend it. It's helpful to be watchful, I think, in that season. But I think also, though, it could be a time for Christians to be reconciled to their friends who identify as LGBT, who have been hurt by Christians, been hurt by the church, who have even a misperception of what it means to be Christian. What if we could make it a Christian reconciliation month as opposed to an oppositional month, so that people who experience LGBT might be more open to the gospel, might be more open to the truth, and might actually start questioning their allegiance to the LGBTQ culture and all that it means. I mean, that's what I would really hope for.
What do you think that looks like? What do you think that Christian reconciliation with our friends and family members who identify as LGBTQ plus? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks like dialogue that is willing to be vulnerable. So to say, would you be willing, in celebration of Pride Month, to sit down with me and tell me, what does Pride mean to you? What does the LGBT culture mean to you? What have you gotten from it?
It's a great starting place.
What have you experienced from the church? And then sit and listen to how maybe this person, when I went to seminary, one of the first things that I had to do was publicly confess so I was an elder on the board of elders in my church. I did publicly confess that I was a lesbian and resign from my eldership. And because it was rightfully so from this position, it was rightfully not an orthodox position of the church that I was in. But nevertheless, that experience was very challenging, to say the least, right? And so just talking about what does it mean to have to leave your church community when you openly express having these feelings, or how hard was it to talk to your parents? Can you take your gay spouse home now, or what is that like? And just setting the stage for what is actually a liminal space, a neutral space, where you can hear what the life experience is of someone. But then, I think Christians have a tendency to withhold their faith from LGBT identifying people, in part because LGBT identifying people reject it, but then also this fear that if I share the faith, then this person is going to feel harmed.
Right.
And so I like to suggest that you talk about how Jesus has impacted you personally. Like, I understand what pride, tell me about your experience of pride and your experience of the church, and resonate with them, empathize with them if that's necessary, express how sorry you are, but then also say, I want to tell you about my faith and my experience of faith. May I do that? And here's what I would wish for you, that you would experience this kind of love that I received, irregardless of the implications, and try to build that bridge of, I'm going to listen to you, and I would really love to be able to offer you a recontextualization of what Christianity is for you to ponder.